Good evening, everyone. My name is Rick Bowden. I am the president of the Pinckney, Putnam, Hamburg, Hell Chamber of Commerce. Say that 5 times real fast. But we are a division of the Greater Brighton Area Chamber of Commerce. And for many years, we have been putting on a candidate forum. I think it's almost 20 years now. I brought this when I moved to this area and got involved with the chamber. We used to do it the east side where I came from. And so we've been doing that here every time there's an election. Well, this year we had some challenges because we always do it at Hamburg Township. And our friends at Hamburg Township, I see the Township Supervisor, Pat Hull right there. Hamburg Township has been very generous with their facilities and how they share with us and their audio-visual technology and everything that they've got there because they tape all their meetings and everything. Well, this year we had to do it a little differently because Hamburg Township's office or their meeting room isn't big enough, and because of some of the rules for social distancing. And yes, I do have a mask here, folks, and I'm farther enough away from people. But for social distancing, we were allowed to use Jane Tesh Theater, which is in Pinckney Schools. It's between the 2 middle schools, between Pathfinder and Navigator schools. And Rick Todd, our superintendent of schools, is here, and we appreciate them giving us the opportunity. We have coordinated with Joe Malik from G1NBC and also from Dale from Dale Tech Studios, and they're videotaping us. So we may not have the best attendance here in the audience tonight, but these events go out on social media and they'll be shared with little snippets of all different parts of each different segment of the candidates that we're going to go through. So they're here and available. So you know what? I always tell people, you know, you need to be an informed voter, and that's what we're doing, is trying to get people to know the issues and know what why they're voting and what they're voting on. So tonight is our candidate forum for the primary election. One thing we've got to be clear on this is that we only invite people for contested positions. So if somebody is running for office and they will not be contested in the primary, they were not invited to this event. They're automatically going to pass on to the general election. We will be doing one of these events for the general election, like we always do, and those people will be invited then. For instance, I just mentioned Mr. Hall, our township supervisor. He's running unopposed. He wasn't invited to talk today. He probably would have talked too long anyway. So, but he wasn't invited because he's unopposed in the election. So there was no reason for us to take our time to do that. So we did that. So we've got different segments tonight. So, and I should also clarify too that the only contested positions in the August primary, and these are for any of the offices that cover the area where our Chamber of Commerce is. Our Chamber of Commerce, like I said, is Pinckney, Putnam, Hamburg, and Hell. So the positions that are available, it ends up that they were only Republicans that are being contested in the primary. There are Democrats on the ballot in August, but they're not contested, so they weren't invited to participate. So the positions that we're going to work on tonight is we're going to have first is the Hamburg Township Trustees. Then we will have the Putnam Township Trustees, then the County Commissioners for our District 8, and then representatives in Congress for the 8th District, and then Rick Todd from the school district will talk about the Pinckney Community Schools bond issue, and then the Livingston County Prosecuting Attorney Office. So those are the positions that we'll be doing them in each different segment. So our first segment then is the Hamburg Township Trustees. So we're going to get started there. So we have 4 candidates that are with us tonight. There are actually 6 candidates that will be at the on the ballot as Republicans, but there were 2 that will not be here. So the candidates are Bill Hahn, Darlene Hall, Pat Hughes, Annette Keebley, Craig Masserant, and Chuck Menzies. So Darlene and Annette were not able to join us tonight, so we're going to have the 4 candidates. Now, what will happen, so people understand this with Hamburg Township, there are 4 positions that are available, and since there's 6 Republicans that are running, there will be 4 that will move on to the next. There are 2 Democrats that are on the ballot, but again, they're not contested, so they will not be there. So each candidate will get 5 minutes. They can talk about what they've done or what they want to do. And we've got Patrice, who's our one of our chamber board members. She's going to very politely be our Vanna White sort of and stand up and wave. So when it's time for you to end your speech, she'll make sure that she'll give you a sign that your 5 minutes are up. After the four of you each take your 5 minutes, then there will be questions that we'll have from the audience that have been submitted to me. So anybody that's here, if you've got questions, then what will happen is I'll ask the questions and each of you will be given an opportunity. So we're going to start with Bill Hahn, and it's all yours, and then you'll pass the microphone down.
Thank you, Rick. My name's Bill Hahn. There's a few people in the audience that I don't recognize, but I'm in Hamburg Township trying to get myself re-elected for the Township Trustee. I'm going to break my 5 minutes down into 3 different categories. I'm going to start with training and work experience. I retired from Ford Motor Company after 30 years. I worked in engineering, and I had several managerial positions as I went through my career. I have 3 college degrees. I got a BS from Purdue. I've got a business degree from U of D, and I've got a master's degree in economics from U of D. I've been on the trustee township board for 12 years, and I'm looking to go another 4 years, and then maybe I'll call it quits after that. I started, and I'm still active in the Hamburg Flood Committee. I started that along with one of my neighbors back in 2005. That's like 15 years ago. I'm a member of the Hamburg Personnel Committee, and I'm also on the Municipal Utilities Committee, and I'm also on the board for the Livingston Community Water Authority. So that's a summary of my training, work experience. I always like to talk, the second category I want to cover is major accomplishments. And I'm going to be brief there, but one of my things that I've helped Hamburg do that I'm most proud of is I led the efforts to develop what we call the Finance Control Book. That includes the budget, cash summaries, cash flow, which is very important, banks, and investments. And anybody that wants to log on the web page for Hamburg, all of that is available, fully transparent. I also helped lead efforts to get several Hamburg roads paved, and also we're in the process of paving 14 subdivision roads. So we helped set up with an SAD for the subdivisions. And the subdivisions, the residents are paying for the bond that we just issued. We have a bond rating in Hamburg of AA+. And to my knowledge, nobody in the state of Michigan has a higher bond rating than that. So we're highly rated. And we just sold a bond for roughly $3.3 million at an interest rate of 1.2%. So it's a very low and good interest. Third area is we made several people changes in the township, resulting in what we think is a very high-performing group of people that are doing an excellent job. We also successfully worked with the board to create, is that better?
Yes, it is.
To create reserves. One of the things, first things we did to improve the finances of the township was we looked at all the assets that we have, and we started setting aside reserves for each of those assets. And the reserves are based on the estimated life of the assets and when they would have to be replaced. So when we have to buy a new car, police car, or pave a road or fix a roof, we've already set aside monies for that. The last thing I want to talk about is we continue the township to focus on the waterways. As some of you know, we have potential flooding up at Boar Lake and that, so I'm heavily involved in the flooding, addressing that, including harvesting the weeds on the river that we've done about 8 times over the last 12 years. We also do river cleanups to keep the river flowing. Okay. And so I probably have 1 more minute.
Nope, you're
Am I done?
You're done, but you can do a little wrap up. You can do a little wrap up. You're going to get a wrap up at the end too.
Your next step, if I'm reelected, is I'm going to continue to focus on the finances of the township and people that have been to board meetings and that. No, I'm always addressing the finances, and I think we've done a pretty good job in the township. Thank you.
Okay, our next candidate is Pat Hughes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Pat Hughes. I've been the Hamburg Township Trustee Clerk since 2009 through March of this year. I'm currently a Hamburg Township Trustee and serving the remainder of Trustee Jim Nielsen's 2016 term due to his untimely death. I'd like to talk to you about my qualifications for being a trustee. I've worked full-time in the clerk's office for 10 plus years. And that's important because it gave me the opportunity to learn what a general township under Michigan law can and cannot do. What's our authority? Working in the township hall, I've had the opportunity to understand the responsibilities, the roles, and the objectives of each township department, which is valuable when evaluating the items and the requests that a department brings to the board for approval or denial. I've been fortunate to be in touch with hundreds of residents, having served them in person in the office and over the phone. It's been an excellent way to know what our residents want and do not want their township to do and be. My husband and I moved to the township 45 years ago because my dream was to live in a year-round home on a lake and not have to drive 3 hours to a second home. Be assured, the health of our lakes and rivers is very important to me, and having grown up in rural southeastern Michigan, so is keeping the township as country-like as possible and managing future growth. I started attending board meetings in 2009 because the 2008 recession was affecting the township revenues, and the board elected in November of 2008 was making headlines in the news in a bad way. I thought that by attending their meetings as an audience member, I could figure out what was going wrong. Turns out there wasn't a system in place to produce monthly financial reports for managing expenditures to budget, so you never knew how we were doing. Investment of some of the township funds were risky and not FDIC insured. The new clerk and the treasurer were not performing their duties well. The clerk was recalled in 2009, not having served even a full year, and the treasurer resigned. I've seen firsthand, by working in the township hall, the many improvements the current board has made to the financial soundness of the township, including a well-functioning budgeting process, financial controls, and monthly financial reports to track expenditures to compare with the budget, and putting in place rainy day funds or reserves, which can be used when the economy falters, revenues decrease, or unexpected events happen. Think coronavirus pandemic. I'm running for trustee because I do not want to see us backslide into the problems associated with the 2008 recession due to impact and uncertainties that we face from the coronavirus pandemic. The township's fiscal year general fund revenues are forecast to be about $3.5 million. for 2021. Out of that, our tax collection accounts for about 38% of the revenue, and the state shared revenue is 44%. My experience will be helpful in setting policies and taking action if the state cuts back our shared revenue. We do not want to have to cut back or curtail services to our residents. My background before working in local government was I have a master's degree in biology and an MBA. And to upset some of you Michigan State people, those were both from the University of Michigan. And I had a career in publicly traded corporations and private businesses in the pharmaceutical and computer technology industry. I've managed staff and I was in control of $1 million budget. I ask for your vote so I may continue to serve my home community and keep it a very livable, viable, safe place to reside. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Chuck Menzies.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And before I start talking about me, myself, and I just want to make a comment. I want to show my appreciation to the employees at our town hall. You know, as elected officials, we make the policy, we set the policies, we make the decisions, but it's the employees that carry them out. And I just want to give my compliments to the employees on what was going on, the staff at the town hall, the guys at the DPW, the police, the fire, and of course the seniors at the senior center. Now I'll talk about myself. I'm going to get my reading glasses on here, my cheaters. Again, I'm seeking re-election for one of the positions on the board. I've gained the experience, obviously. I have the knowledge and the skills needed to continue the process of keeping various projects on task. I have the technical and administrative experience to go along with the understanding of how local government works. I'm aware of the responsibilities that it takes in moving this great community forward. I know it can still be effective. I feel I'm seeking for re-election for the right reasons. I've been a resident for this fine township for over 33 years. I've served on most committees and commissions that the township holds. I've been a volunteer. I've worked on river cleanup. I've worked for Hero for the festival in the spring. I have the ideas. I know what's going on. I have the experience. I keep saying this. Review my record. I vote on conscience. I vote on facts, and hopefully I use common sense. I've been committed to preserve the services provided by this township. Granted, I'm one of only 7 that's looking to serve on this board. Some of the major accomplishments was already been covered. Bill and Patricia's talked with them. To have the AA+ rating for the bond is phenomenal. I would question any other community that has it. It's helping out our budget. Our budget is very strong. We have a strong fund balance. We have our special assessments, our SADs. Our special assessments, we have over 25 special assessments. We have 14 new ones coming in. Many communities don't even have to deal with those special assessments. Granted, we do the administrative part of it. It's the community, the people themselves that take up the petitions and that follow through on this. But for 25 special assessments, where a lot of communities don't even want to get near it. Our parks is a great asset. You go to Merle, East and West Merle, you go to the Lakeland Trails, it is constantly used. It's been written up in the papers and magazines. I've been a long-time chairman for the Public Safety Committee. I have the experience. I support the people, the police fully. Hamburg has been chosen as one of the safest communities for a population of under 25,000. And that's a great thing to say, when the safest communities in the state of Michigan. Police and fire has one of the fastest, one of the quickest response times in Livingston County. I think we should be proud of that. I've also been a long-time chairman of the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. And since then, we've arranged through the county, through LEDS, Livingston Essential Transportation Services for homebound seniors, to make doctor's appointments, to transportation to Myers, transportation to Ann Arbor, transportation to the senior center. It costs them $1, maybe $2 to go to Ann Arbor. You can't beat that, and it's getting people out. With this Corvus 19, things have been shut down. We've been concerned about the safety of the seniors, but it's up and running again, and they're still following the protocols. It's doing very good. I'm here to tell you I still have the time, the spirit, the energy, and the dedication to represent this community. I think Hamburg is run in a very logical, reasonable, and a progressive manner, and it's the benefit of the people. I appreciate to have your vote, and I appreciate it. Thank you, and stay safe.
And our last candidate here with us today is Craig Masserant.
All right, thanks Rick for inviting me today. Tough group to follow, a lot of experience, and that is appreciated. From Pat to all you guys have done a great job in the community. My name is Craig Masserant. About 7 years ago, my wife and I, looking to be close to Ann Arbor, we live downriver. Looking for a nice community. Her aunt and uncle had a place on Ore Lake, like coming out here, so we started looking. Moved out here, got my keys, went and sat down on my porch, and I listened. And it's not what I heard, it's what I didn't hear. If anybody's familiar with Wyandotte, I lived a block away from Ford Street. Cars, 24/7. I didn't hear a car in 10 minutes. I fell in love instantly. Now, my fear that I see, and I don't know how it's gonna be stopped. I look at Green Oak. The line used to be South Line. The sprawl's coming. How do we stop it? We have to be, I think, more diligent on our density bonuses, or more conservative on our density bonuses. That's something that I think I want to work toward. I love it out here. I want to see it stay a rural community. Canton's over there, you know, and the comment is, when your subdivision was built, nobody wanted that built too. That's correct, because people want it to be rural. Everybody says that. That's what we keep hearing. When your subdivision was built, nobody wanted that built. So that seems to be the common theme. So subdivisions are going to get built, but it would be our job on this, the board's job, to make sure it's sensible, to make sure that M36 can handle it, because we have no control over M36, state road. They don't have to widen it. Right now, 8-minute drive to US 23. That community in Green Oak, I guarantee there should be a stoplight up there soon. My 8 minutes is now 12 minutes just to get to the freeway. That's why I left downriver. I had an hour drive to work. Now I drive 25, 30 minutes. I love it. Lakes and rivers, I want to continue to work with, you know, if I was elected, to get these lakes and rivers cleaned up. It's ridiculous what people have done to pollute. It is one of our #1 resources in a lake community. I know the board has started, and I would like to continue those type of work. The flooding, as Bill mentioned, why does the dam on this end get to make a decision and the dam on that end get to make a decision and we're stuck in the middle? That's something too I think we need to look into, find out why we have to flood. And you know, I know it's not a ton of houses, but if it's one house, it should be looked into. We're responsible to all of the citizens, not just the group that's over here. The minority should get the same respect. I'm not saying they don't get respect, maybe poor strokes of words, but the same rights as the majority and the minority should have the same rights. And I'm running because I'd like to see Hamburg as it is today. You guys have done a great job, and I will commend you. I'm just worried about the sprawl that's coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are the candidates for Hamburg Township Trustee. And I've got some questions that were submitted and some people that had shared some things with me before. So we're going to do that. Why don't we just start backwards? Craig, you were last here, so let's go first, and then we'll just pass it that way, and then we'll rotate who goes first on each question. Then, so we're gonna do about between a minute and a minute and a half to each one. And you know what? And if somebody's already asked the question, then hey, you know what? Just say, hey, I agree. You know, so yeah, so we can get through some of these. So the first question, and Craig, I think you alluded to some of this. Hamburg Township takes pride on their open space development. Why is it that there's talks of turning it into Canton? And I think I'm going to condense two questions, because there was also a question about what should happen with the property on Winans Lake Road. So what should happen here with developments, and how should we allow some developments but not turn into Canton?
Am I on? Okay, development, I guess, like I said, we're not going to stop it. But we have rules in place, the open space ordinances, that allow a certain amount of our houses on the property. If the property is 90 acres and it's 1 house per acre, we can give a little bit of bonus for an exemplary, but they should come to you. You shouldn't say, oh, well, we'll allow you to put this many houses. They should come to us and say, hey, does this work? Does that work? And then we can decide if it's exemplary. The fear that people say Canton is coming is because I look at that, I call it the super sub on Green Oak. That thing is huge. That is huge. And I mean, is it within does it follow their ordinance? I don't know, but we must follow our ordinance. If our ordinance says 1 house per acre, 1 house per acre, if you want a little bit more, come to me and explain to me why you need more. It's not my job to tell you you can have more. Explain to us, why you think you deserve that.
Thank you, Rick. Would you repeat the question? I think I'm going to need more than a minute because this Winans is a hotbed that I want to talk about. So, but anyways, let me talk about it. No, this isn't Canton. People from Canton are moving out here. I agree with what's going on with Green Oaks because that development would not happen. Our open space is to preserve natural features. As far as our ordinance goes with 1 acre, we don't have subdivisions with our open space of 1 acres. Our open space calls for clustered housing and preserving natural features. The property on Lyman's Road was brought up. If that was 1 acre lots, there's a river and there's a lake, those lots would go right down to the river, right down to the lake. There'd be docks on them. The open space was to preserve the natural features. We gave bonuses to the houses, to the developer to save the river so they wouldn't develop on the river. They wouldn't develop on the lake. As far as the bonuses go, they were bringing water down. There's a whole story, a whole gamut. And the bottom line, it was they finally crunched their numbers. The developer crunched their numbers and realized it would be too expensive to bring water down. We don't have our ordinance, our parallel plans calls for open space. There is no subdivision that we've developed in the last 20 years of acre lots. As far as looking at Canton, we have a master plan for M36 where we don't want M36 to look like Ford Road or Grand River. We have nodes that's designated for business for commercial. We have our village center plan, which goes from Rural Road into the village, which is mixed, okay? And we also have down on Kroger's and down by Pettysville. The rest is zoned residential. We don't want businesses all the way up and down Grand River or look like Grand River, look like Ford Road and Canyon. We're trying to preserve M36. Thank you. There's a lot more I could say. Feel free to catch me afterwards.
We have the master plan, and we've just gone through a review of that. And it's been interesting to me how few people participated in that as residents. So, number one, I would encourage residents to make their voices known. Number two, you have to think about this for people who own the property. They have a right to sell their property, and if it meets our planning ordinances or zoning ordinances, people have the right to do that. As I said, I grew up in a rural area. I wanted to live on a lake. But as a township, you have to think about if you try to do certain things, then you're going to get sued by the developers, or you're going to get sued by the property owners. So I do think we have a good structure in place, and I think that we need to, as a board, look at those things, and it comes through the planning commission, and then we decide whether it meets our ordinances and can be approved.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm not sure I can add much more than what was already said. Chuck has great experience in planning at the township, so he knows more about the history and planning than I'll probably ever know. But I rely on his judgment quite a bit. The Winans Lake property was a failure to start. The original contractor wanted to have homes down to the river, and we said, no, that's not appropriate, it's not gonna happen. So, and what killed it finally was no water. The builder tried to drill, I think, 4 or 5 wells, and they sucked the water out of several surrounding homes. So in order to have water up there, we would have had to, or the contractor would have had to build a pipeline up there, and I think it ran upwards of $3 million. They wanted the township to pay for half of it, and I said, no way, not as long as I'm on the board. So that whole development fell through. And I'm pretty proud of the ordinances that the township has. It's pretty well controlled or restricted, so we ain't gonna become another Canton. It's just not gonna happen in Hamburg. Thank you.
So Chuck, I think you mentioned it earlier, you know, there was a bond issue that was passed for roads. And some people started driving this morning and we saw Chilson roads being worked on. So I had to go around and work it today. So Chilson's part of that project that's been done. I know Winans Lake's been done, Hamburg Road's been done, Strawberry Lake Road's been done. How long is that bond issue, and what else needs to be done with the roads in Hamburg Township? And what other roads?
The bond issue, the roads that are being repaired under the millage that the people voted for. That's a 1 mil voted, as far as the 10-year millage. It's a 10-year millage. And some of the roads would have been repaired last summer, but there was a strike with the contractor, and it went on for a while. So we're playing catch up, but eventually, like you said, Chilson Road, as I saw it, as we came by today, is going on. There's a subdivision, Shadowwoods off of Strawberry and M36. I see they're paved. That's a county road. I will say that one thing is that I won't use the word dam, but those roads still haven't been fixed yet by the state. And so what we did is we put it up to the people, and if they wanted their roads fixed, vote for a millage. And with cooperating money through the county's been very cooperative. They've been doing engineering. We've had some of the major roads repaired, maintained, and we have some more coming along, obviously. And Chilson Road, if you go by Chilson today, or you better not go by Chilson, you'll have a detour. But it's being paved.
Well, currently, Hamburg Township does have a millage, and this December's, the winter taxes will be the last time for that 5-year millage. It will expire after December. This November, there will be a millage on the ballot to let the residents determine if what they have seen and what they want to have continue with the public roads will be extended for 1 mil and for 5 years. The bond is to help people on subdivision private roads because those have deteriorated, and we were not willing to spend the millage money on private roads. But if the homeowners in that area would gather petitions for a special assessment district, the township board was willing to serve as a financing arm for them and vote for this bond proposal. And then that would be paid by special assessment taxes on those homeowners over a 10-year period. I believe it's 10 years. So the irony is that the Hamburg Township, no township is responsible for roads. If you're a city, yes. If you're a village, yes. If you are a county, yes, but not a township. But our residents have asked that that was the most problematic thing, and we have worked to help them get their roads repaired.
Thank you, Patricia. I could talk for quite a long time on roads. Where it started was Pat, and I want to give my accolades to Pat Hole, who has helped lead the charge. But our first attempt was to try to get a 2 mil passed a few years back, and the voters in Hamburg turned that down. The phone kept ringing in Pat's office, and I was there a few times listening in, and I finally said, Pat, let's do a 1 mil and try and see if our voters will approve 1 mil for roads. We did that, and our residents approved 1 mil for 5 years, and we generate about $1 million a year in round numbers to do roads. And you've already seen the roads in Hamburg Township being paved, Hamburg, Crest, among others. So the roads next up, Shadowwoods just is gotten mostly done. That's the first and the worst subdivision that we had to deal with. Just terrible roads there. Chilson and Swarthout is in the process of being done as we speak this week. The week of July 27, we're going to do Fire Ravines. August 3rd, week off Hamburg Road beginning, and then August 17th, Towering Pines, and then August 24th, Tamarack Drive. So, and we're going to put another mill on the November ballot. So, thank you.
I'd like to complain a lot, but gentlemen, outstanding job on the roads. I will say I was skeptical. The first time we came up, I voted no. Second time I voted yes. November, I plan on voting yes. And one of the last few things you said was Hamburg Road in August 3rd. I was wondering when that was going to start. That's appreciated. I will continue to support that. You guys have done a great job with the roads, which is, like I said, I was very skeptical at first because I emailed everybody on the board. I think Pat emailed me back and said, I don't know which roads, we need to get the money first. And I thought, well, doesn't that seem backwards? He said, that's not how it works. We need to have the money before we have a plan. To me, that felt backwards. I was skeptical, but great job. It worked.
Okay, the next question. Since this event is being put on by the local Chamber of Commerce, the question is how do we encourage more development along our planned areas where we want development and where it is, and along our main arteries, and how do we fill in some empty locations, especially like Chilson Commons, and then I think somebody mentioned earlier the plan for the village center and stuff. So how do we do some of that, and how do we start encouraging more businesses to come here?
Well, the challenge has gotten to be even more exciting now that the pandemic is around. So I think the first thing is to hang on to the businesses that we do have. We have a planning commission. We have our ordinances. We try to make those as business friendly as we can. But we are an odd community. We are over 21,000 residents based on the 2010 census. But we are really a bedroom community. And we would all like to have more restaurants. We would like to have more boutique shops. I think that that's going to be an interesting struggle, that how do we keep it so that the process is as friendly as possible, and how do we keep the taxes for them as reasonable as possible. You know, Green Oak has both a big retail and manufacturing base. Hamburg Township doesn't really want that, according to what the residents have told us over time. So I would love it, I would support it, but I think the going over the next 2 to 3 years is going to be even tougher. So.
Thank you, Patricia. How do we encourage development? The people on the board are pretty business friendly. You saw the Regency development go up, and the developer there is a super good guy, and we were trying to help him the best we could. We've also tried to develop apartments over at the old Hamburg school, and we worked with the developer there, trying to encourage, because we need apartments and for the younger people to come in, and we also encourage the older folks with the houses that were put up at Regency. To encourage that, we gave the developers discounts on sewer and water to encourage them to bring in the higher density apartments at the old Hamburg school. And we'll continue to do that where we see advantages, where the township, our township, needs to encourage younger folks coming in. And then our older folks who want to downsize in homes, we'll encourage them, the builders, to build and support that. So I hope that helps.
I think this is like a catch-22 question. We don't want a McDonald's in Hamburg, I don't think. Most people don't. We don't want a Tim Hortons. We don't want, but we need to encourage these businesses that are there, that we're there for them. Local Coney Island, Mimi's Diner, I can't even think of the name of it. Smoke Doctor. Those are local businesses, but that actually takes more than just the board. That takes all of us. We can't forget about those. Redoing my kitchen right now, I'm living at Pete's, True Value. Most of the stuff you get at the big box store, but anything small I needed a valve yesterday. I went to Pete's, 5-minute drive. We need to remember to do that. Yes, Brighton's right there, 12 minutes away. I could have probably saved $3, but it's the principle of Pete's is right there. I live by Boomer's Party Store. Hey, milk's a little bit more expensive, but in a hurry, it's great. I go there a lot for little things, milk, eggs, butter, hey, pizza night, you know. We need to remember these businesses, but like I said, that's more than just the board, that's all of us. We need to support them, especially with the COVID, and them only, the Coney Island, 70%, what's it, 30% capacity or something. Let's go there, go out and eat, get a carry out. If you go there to eat, remember to tip. These folks are making half, they have half of the people in the place or whatever it is, and then they're only making a little bit. They're not getting their unemployment anymore. So let's remember these things.
I guess it's a catch-22. How do you bring the businesses in, yet people don't want development? So you can't stop development, but you can control it. We're a population of about 23,000 people. Residents, we have a lot of baby boomers now, a lot of empty nesters. We have people that they no longer feel that they don't need their 2,500, 3,000 square foot home, 3-bedroom, but they still want to stay in the area. We don't have apartments for a population of 23,000. We don't have apartments. Now that's a catch-22 because of your apartments. You think of density, you think of population. Well, if you are going to have the density, it's going to be in more of the mixed development, more in the village center area, where it was mentioned about, Bill mentioned. So we have apartments, you have people, you have empty nesters, you have young people moving in because they can't afford a $350,000 home. They're looking for apartments. But now another catch-22, when we talk about apartments, the gossip is going around, oh, we're bringing in low-income housing and things like that. That's not the case. It's just that people want to downsize, bring it, so you increase the density, bring it, build it, and they will come, basically. That's what it is. It's a catch-22. Development comes, and the businesses will follow.
The next question is, and since I'm a realtor, this is with me, and the question's been addressed a little bit with some of your guys' comments, but it talks about housing. Chuck just said that, you know, a lot of people are empty nesters now, and they're still living in those big houses that they are, and we need to turn some of those houses and have some younger people with families move into them, but yet we need places for people to go. So the mention was made about the new Regency subdivision, But how do we encourage and what incentives do we give? How do we find developers? How do we get people to come and do some more development with our controls? And how do we get more rental housing and more low-income housing and smaller housing in the Hamburg Township area?
I'll probably repeat myself to some degree. We really tried to work with a developer at the old Hamburg school area where they were planning on building, I forget what the number was, 200 plus apartments. And we gave that developer discounts on sewer hookups, what we call REUs, and also for water. We get a discount if they come and build at the rate that as expected. So we bent over backwards to try to help those the people. Same with our Regency, and we did the same thing with the Hamburg, what do they call it, independent living, that's going up off of, or Hampton Manor, off of 36, behind our fire station there. And we worked really hard with that developer. It's the same company that built the senior living in Brighton off of, what is it, Rickett Road. So they need to see a friendly face, a cooperative face in the people in our zoning and ordinance areas. We encourage our people to work with them and help them to the extent possible.
Back to Craig.
Okay, I think when it comes to encouraging developers, I think one of the biggest problems is developers want to build big houses because they can make a lot of money on big houses, and that's where you see, big houses. My mother-in-law looked into one of those subdivisions, and the prices are astronomical. They're empty nesters. They want to downsize, but the downsized houses are bigger than where they live now. To encourage a developer, I guess that's all you can do is say, hey, this is a property we have. That place behind the fire station, that's going to be great. It's a place where people can retire now. I think we need to look into more of those type of communities with a bus, with transportation, get you to Brighton, get you to Ann Arbor. People don't want to drive. They don't want to drive to those big cities, if you will. I hate driving to Ann Arbor since I moved out here. It's too much traffic for me. And for these folks to have to drive places, they don't want to do it. And if you give them a bus, a shuttle, that's going to go there 2 or 3 times a day to Brighton even, go shopping, go to the movies, go to the restaurants. Those are great communities. I know my wife's grandparents lived in one in Dearborn, and it was wonderful. It had everything they needed, stores, restaurants, everything. Those are the type of things I think we need. And as you said, turn the houses over. Gives the retirees a place to move, close to home. They don't have to leave where their kids are. New people can move into the houses. Thank you.
This has pretty much been covered before. I mentioned a lot of it, but again, to build it and they will come, but to encourage it. Developers are always looking at property around here. It's just a matter of what the ordinances are and what people want. I know we've changed from cottage-sized houses, besides affordable. Now, it was mentioned about low-income houses. I wouldn't use the word low-income around here. It might upset some people, but affordable housing is what's needed. Again, for the empty nesters and for the young people, get the young people to come out here. More and more people are working out of their homes now. We're finding that office space is going to be available. They'll be working more out of their homes. Again, Hamburg is a great attraction with the lakes and the river. The river is the heart of the township, obviously, and we try to preserve that. But you give the developers some incentive on what to do. And again, it goes back with our open space again. This is why we give them a bonus. They preserve some natural areas, and that has nothing to do with the business part, but I understand that. But that's all part of the draw for the developers to come out here. Thank you.
Rick is not going to like me. I want to be able to age in place in my home, my little 3-bedroom ranch on the lake. And I want the property taxes to be kept as reasonable as they can be and give me as good value for every dollar that I part with so that I can age in place. Now, when my husband deceases or I decease, I think it would be lovely to move into what Craig is talking about. We were teasing a brother-in-law out in Nebraska that we were going to move back to Omaha because that is exactly what they had done. They had everything. They had restaurants, they had apartments, they had condos, they had all those amenities. So if we could get that inspired here to start with in Hamburg Township, that would be fine. But a lot of us really don't want to go to a nursing home. We want to stay at home as long as we can, and we want to be able to not be forced out of our house because we can't pay the property taxes, especially on waterfront property.
Okay, so this has been the first segment of our evening, and we've got the candidates for Hamburg Township Trustee. What I'd like to do is give each of you 1 minute to be able to do a wrap-up, and Craig, why don't we start with you then? And just 1 minute, and we'll pass it on quickly, and just sort of, again, say who you are, so they've got the name with the face, and say why they should vote, why somebody should vote for you.
All right, my interest in this board really started about 2 years ago. I was complaining on social media, and a local realtor said, "I've never seen your name on a ballot or a committee or anything. You're gonna sit there and complain and you get involved." I got involved. I've been to a few meetings. I watch them on TV. I watch them recorded. I love the local politics. I love where I live. I want this place to be just as great for my kids as you guys have made it that are on the board now. I want to continue that. There's some things that I would like to see done better. That's why I'm running. But other than that, I'd like you guys to thank Rick for me being here. He was my inspiration. Support for my family. I have 4 kids. One starting high school, 2nd grade, kindergarten, and a 1-year-old. So I'll be busy this year. We are in Brighton School District, but I encourage you all to vote if you're in the Pinckney District. Yes, on their bond issue coming up. Thank you.
Well, as I said earlier, I'm up for the re-election, and I still have the spirit, I still have the energy, and I still have the willpower to keep going. The knowledge to keep on task. I use this phrase, and people are probably getting tired of it, but it has to do with what we're talking about earlier about development and about bringing people out here and ordinances. 100 years after we are gone and forgotten, those who never heard of us will be living with the results of our actions. This by Oliver Wendell Holmes, a former Supreme Court Justice. Again, what we do today, even though people won't know us 100 years from now, is going to be in effect. And I feel that by doing this through planning, through good planning, it's going to help the future, even though I'm not going to be around to appreciate it. Thank you.
I have the time and the energy to do the work of a trustee. I think I'm known for delving into topics and to getting information about them and to understanding them. People know that I ask a lot of questions. The important thing, too, though, is when things come before the board, a lot of the times priorities have to be made. And I'm not afraid to say no when either the information isn't as good as it should be, it hasn't been thought about as much, or it's a great idea, we just don't have the money at the moment. Here are the priorities that we have to deal with. So I ask for your vote and support so I can continue to serve on the Board of Trustees. And I want to throw in a word for our clerk's office staff. Please get your AD ballots back as soon as you can. We have about 30% of those back. There's a lot of them still out there, and if you could get them in so that they don't all just come in a truckload on the last day, we would really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's a good way to wrap up. If I'm re-elected, I'm going to continue to focus on the finances of the township to control costs and spending. We've had, I think, 8 years of perfect audits. Now think about that, 8 years of perfect audits. I don't know of any other city, township, anywhere that can get through a couple of perfect audits. I'm going to continue to work on getting our main roads paved, as I summarized. And we got 14 subdivision roads that we got to wrap up between this year and next year, and we'll keep the focus there. And I'm going to continue to support diversity of opinion on the board and be very straightforward with people. People that know me at the township know sometimes I'm very blunt, and I ain't going to change. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and so that we have a balanced decision-making within the township.
Thank you. Bill, can you just shut that off then, that mic? So those are the candidates for Hamburg Township Trustee that were with us. And wrapping up, just remember that these are the Republican candidates because they are in a contested position. We had with us tonight Bill Hahn, Pat Hughes, Craig Masserant, and Chuck Menzies. There are 2 other candidates, Darlene Hall and Annette Keebley, that could not be here. So those will be on your ballot there. So we appreciate all your sharing. Remember that this will be shared, and if you've watched this, please, we'll be sharing this on all different social media. We encourage you to share it with other people so that everybody else can be set up. We're going to take a few minutes here to do some house cleaning so we can get the next group up here, and the next group will be the Putnam Township Trustees.